Reportedly, more than 33,000 Palestinians have been killed since October 7 last year when Israeli Defense Forces launched attacks on Gaza. Number of injured persons and the extent of damages to civilian infrastructure are difficult to ascertain. The UN says that half of Gaza's 2.2 million people face catastrophic food insecurity and hundreds of thousands of people in northern Gaza are on the brink of famine. Yet, Israel has not only tried to sideline the UN Relief and Work Agency, rather, Israel's killing of aid workers earlier this month is making it even harder to feed desperate people. Total disregard to provisional measures suggested by International Court of Justice for the protection of rights of people of Palestine and even the United Nations Security Council's resolution calling for ceasefire. Not that atrocities in Gaza are part and parcel of Israel's settler colonialism, which infringes on the most basic international legal principles and is a threat to international peace and security. In such a context, all statements of condemnation are empty of meaning if they are not followed by action. Under international law, when international peace is under threat and genocide is being committed, states and corporations have the duty to act. Among the measures they can resort to are embargoes as a form of economic pressure to stop violation of international law. In case of Israel, such measures are necessary to force the country to stop its violation and to protect the Palestinian people against further atrocities. When considering the legal case for embargoes against Israel, it is important to understand in one context they are applicable. Under international law, member states are required to act when there is a threat to international peace and security. That is, violations are taking place that cross the red line at the core of the UN Charter. Since Israel's creation in 1948, which involved the dispossession and ethnic cleansing of the indigenous people, armed conflict has not stopped. Israel's settler colonial project has resulted in constant grievances by Palestinians and other populations of the region, causing geopolitical tensions and hostilities. Since the start of the latest Israeli assault on Gaza in October, there have been constant fears of regional spillover. More recently, the risk of proliferation of war was heightened by the brazen Israeli attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, a grave violation of international law. It is, by now, more than clear that the illegalities committed by Israel is a threat to international peace and security. This position has been validated by the UN General Assembly, which has repeatedly noted that the continuation of Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a threat to international peace and security. When faced with a threat to international peace and security, states have a duty to respond to protect the affected population by all means available, including economic embargoes against industries facilitating the dominating state's war economy. As clearly laid out by the International Court of Justice in its decision on the case of Bosnia and Herzegovina, states have the duty to employ all means reasonably available to them so as to prevent genocide so far as possible. The provisional measures recently issued by the International Court of Justice in the case of South Africa versus Israel act as a legal notice for states and actors. The risk of genocide is here and your duties are activated. The duty to prevent genocide is compounded with the duty not to be complicit in genocide, including by not selling weapons. This obligation is further fortified by the Arms Trade Treaty, which obliges arms exporters not to transfer weapons that could be used to violate international law. With regards to corporate responsibility, according to the UN Guiding Principles for Business and Human Rights, corporations have the duty not to benefit from or contribute to violations of international human rights law and humanitarian laws. This duty is reiterated in relation to Israeli settlements in the documents leading to UN database on businesses involved in Israeli settlements. Israel's ability to continue waging its war in Gaza hinges on imports of foreign weapons and ammunition, the production of which involves complex supply chains. Raw materials can come from one state, the weapons can be produced in another, they can then be exported by a third one and transported through a fourth. Countries as diverse as India, Canada, Japan, Belgium, Germany, Cyprus and others are involved in this process. spare parts Israel needs for its US made F 16 and F 35 jet fighters come from states like Netherlands, Australia, and the UK. Each of these states have the capacity on its own to influence the Israeli state by imposing an embargo on arms and dual use materials. Individual countries have started to take action. Colombia has suspended all arms trade with Israel. The UK has stopped maintenance of Israeli F 35 fighter jets on its soil. The Canadian Parliament voted to freeze new licenses of weapons sale to Israel. And the regional government in Belgium has blocked the export of licenses for munitions to Israel. The Norwegian government has advised against trade with Israeli settlements. If we are to believe in a future with equal rights, self-determination and reparations for the Palestinian people in line with the core principles of UN Charter, these efforts need to be taken forward and expanded. The outcome of such efforts may not be visible in the foreseeable future, but as they say, if there is a will, there is a way, even in the darkest of hours.